What can I do about these dreams? Voices in the night. What can I do about this filthy, dirty, disgusting dreams about me? Having like a poison leather, jeans, black leather, black leather. When I was born, I knew how to ride. I rode big, heavy muscle, and a motor bikes in black leather, black leather. Now that I'm grown up, I do just what I like. I ride big, heavy rocker boys on motorbikes in black leather, black leather. Tough, lean, make me scream black leather, black leather. Mocha boys, black leather. Come on, I'll show you how I ride black leather. Black leather, I'll show ya. Motor tights, black leather. Oh, come on, those jeans are too tight.
Can a movie go too far? Is it too soon to talk about 72? What's behind the meat locker door? These are the kind of sinister questions you'll find in the vintage newsprint ads contained in Drive-In Asylum, a print-only fanzine dedicated to horror and exploitation films. The terrifying nightmares of a bygone era live again. Images of the sensational, the bizarre, the forbidden, film commentary written by fanatics, and interviews with the deranged people who made these loaded movies. Who would make such a film, huh? How did they do it? Why did they do it? You'll find out in Drive-In Asylum. Armand Mastroianni is in the new issue talking about classic 1980s slasher He Knows You're Alone, along with Stephen Mena, director of Malevolence, plus reviews of fantastic films written by fans for fans like you. Go to driveinasylum.com, order from Strange Vice UK, or visit Forbidden Planet in New York to purchase Drive-In Asylum, your fantastic film connection. To avoid fainting, keep repeating, it's only a fanzine, only a fanzine, only a fanzine, only a fanzine. Welcome back to the Drive-In Asylum late movie, and we really hope that you enjoyed our feature for tonight, Revenge of the Ninja. And our special guest, Austin Trunick, author of The Canon Film Guide, is here to talk with the feelings that Revenge of the Ninja aroused in all of us. Sure.
Well, I know Austin and I both watched this a lot of times. What did you think? This isn't usually your kind of movie, so excited to see what you thought.
I loved it. Honestly, I did. I'm becoming more and more of a fan. This is all undiscovered territory for me because I never really paid very much attention to martial arts films or even something. I mean, this was relatively, this wasn't like an import, really. This was something
Yeah.
that was made for American audiences. So this was kind of more high profile than some of like the other stuff that's like the real shit, in martial arts films. But I really dig it. I thought it was so cool. I loved that. My favorite part was when the grandmother picked up that doll and you don't really know what it is. I didn't know what it was. And then you see, oh my God, it's a fucking weapon. It's nunchucks. And, I was bummed out that she got killed. I knew she had to die, but they could have let her live a little bit longer just to give like a better fight. And I love when the women fight in the films, like Michelle Yeoh and Super Cop.
Yeah.
I wasn't expecting that for some reason. Like, because again, I haven't seen very many martial arts films, but man, she really started kicking ass in it. I was like, this is amazing. I
I
dug
was
it.
so happy that you got into the van scene whenever show wouldn't let the guy go and is just fighting people in the
Yes.
van. You're like, what? Like, that's the react. I love when people react like that to movies.
He was not going to let go of that fucking van, and I wouldn't have either.
No.
Those assholes who came in there and fucked with him.
He's like,
They
you
deserved
fucking
everything
village
he
people.
gave them. Yes, I'm so glad Steve brought that up in the chat because I said that while we were watching. I'm like, what did that do? Like, I just figured at the end he was going to get some information from them that would help him, but no, it was a failed attempt that just sort of provided a lengthy action scene that.
I also
Again,
like
every fight scene in this film was stellar.
when the cops like, oh, sorry, go ahead, Austin.
Oh, I was just gonna say, and I love that these thugs, these criminals, these known criminals, hang out on a playground. I just wonder, like, what parents are taking their kids to the playground where known criminals hang out.
I like that his first move in this discussion is to break the table they're sitting on. Like, there's no questions after that. Like, he just came, and the cops are like, "Will you help us?" And he's like, "No, I won't." Like, he already knows what he has to do: kill everybody.
He tried to be nice. They did approach, in a non-confrontational manner, and that didn't work. So he had to bust some heads.
Yeah.
I fully supported everything Cho did in this movie, and I loved another thing. I'm a sucker for things like this, the eyeball shots.
Oh, yeah.
And there was like that awesome eyeball shot of Cho. He had the mask on, all you could see with like these artful eyebrows that were painted on. So
you were gonna love Enter the Ninja maybe even more because it's a movie of Franco Nero's beautiful eyes under a ninja mask. Numerous times where there's like cuts across Franco's eyes. And those blue eyes that you're like, man, how did you get those eyes?
Those piercing blue eyes through like that white ninja mask.
Yeah.
Like fresh bleached ninja uniform, not a least bit of dirt on it.
Also, the other thing I love about Enter the Ninja is like he totally cuts his best friend. Like, no questions asked. Like, isn't this the person you're here to help? He's like, but his wife can't have a baby, so I should probably just sleep with her. Spoiler warning for Enter the Ninja. Which makes sense because the guy who wrote it stole Priscilla Presley away from Elvis, Mike Stone. Which still blows my mind. Mike Stone had the craziest life. You would think after stealing Priscilla from Elvis, he'd be like, yeah, I'm done. No, I'm going to write Enter the Ninja and almost be the star of it. Like, craziness.
Yeah. I mean, on top of, he was held one of the records for like the most consecutive knockouts in martial arts. Like his martial arts like background is what like Frank Dukes like claimed to have.
Yeah,
like, that was Mike Stone really.
So I'm excited for you were talking about when we were watching the movie about the Bloodsport chapter. I'm looking forward to the Frank Dukes bullshit meter stuff that comes up.
Oh yeah, that it's been a tough chapter to write and research because there's a lot of people between Dukes and Van Damme and Minot and Golan. There's a lot of bullshit artists.
I think Menachem is the least bullshit artist of any of the people involved in this.
Yeah. Oh, it'll be a fun one to get out there. I have one of those like conspiracy walls like over here where I made a joke about this on Twitter a while back, but it wasn't really a joke. I have like a breakdown of where Jean-Claude Van Damme like was.
Yeah.
Like where he was at any point from like 1981 to like 1989, just trying to put it all in order because his stories don't line up
Well, it's
versus
like the
like what.
story of how Menachem met him. Even the story of how Menachem met him doesn't line up, right? Like, and I
No.
like the details are to the point where he was delivering turtle soup to him in a restaurant. Like, that's how detailed I've heard this story. And it's like, he was already doing movies when this story should have happened.
Oh yeah, yeah. So it's
How do you explain him showing up in Breakin' then? If this is when he said this story happened, he had already been
yeah.
in one of their movies. I don't know.
Oh yeah, he was carrying Chuck's bags around the Philippines, like and missing in action. Like, yeah, that story does not work either. If you
Yeah.
believe either, like John Claude's or Menachem's version of it,
Or
neither
like
of
when
them.
you get into the why did this is another huge conspiracy wall one is why did Van Damme quit or get fired from Predator? What exactly? Do you know what I mean? Like there's like
Yeah.
900 stories. There's even a picture of him wearing that weird fly costume, and it's like
Mhm.
what happened?
If you talk to people that work on films, it's the same thing. Like everybody has a different story, and none of it matches up. So you never really know who's, I don't know if they're deliberately misleading people or that they probably just, maybe they don't remember this stuff as well as they think they do.
Yeah, and in this case, like I've talked to a lot of people who did a lot of drugs and got kicked in the head a lot of times. So who knows how reliable their memories are at this point.
It's like you said too. It's like even the most outlandish Menachem Golan stories. If 10% of them are true, it's pretty amazing. Do you know what I
Oh
mean?
yeah.
Like there's some of them where it's just like there's no like the other one is what's the one about the actor the director that was gonna cut his fingers off? Which director is that?
Oh, that's Barbette Schroeder.
Yeah,
Barfly. Yeah.
for Barfly, yeah, and he came in with a saw and he injected uh his fingers so that he wouldn't feel it. Like there's so many versions of that story. There's even a cartoon version in what's his name's book, and
Yeah.
it got told so many times by so many people. It's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. And when one of those versions was told by Bukowski, like,
Yeah.
It's going to get embellished.
Yeah. But he really wanted that movie to get made.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's one of those ones that like Menachem would tell that story. And Menachem was off shooting over the top. Like he was nowhere near the Canon offices when it happened. Like,
Yeah.
but Menachem would tell the story about Barbette Schroeder coming into his office with a chainsaw, like cut off his fingers. And he wasn't even in the same state at the time, which is, gotta love Menachem Golan for that.
Oh, that's I. That's one of my favorite things in the book is when you get into these stories about him and you're like, yeah, maybe you're very good at not being like, there's no way this story is not bullshit. You're very much like, well, that's what he said, and let's move to the next story.
I try. I at least present the stories as with a a grain of salt. There's like, it's hard to believe some of them, but then again, like for everyone that turns out like not true, there are 10 more that are insane. And
plus you're talking to creatives, you're talking to people that make things up for a living usually. Mm-hmm. So how could you expect?
My favorite story in all of your books is that Richard Lynch potentially met Joseph Mengele while making one of the movies. Yeah. That story's crazy too, because like you've kind of presented like in the same chapter, it's like Richard Lynch was a maniac that was going to kill someone, and then also Michael Berryman's like he's the greatest person I've ever met. Like he is the nicest person, and I had such a wonderful relationship with him. None of this stuff is mentioned from Michael Berryman's side.
Yeah, I mean, God, yeah, because I talked to Eva LaRue there, and like her interview, she's terrified of him. Like she's like protecting a girl from like his girlfriend. Like in her mind, like Richard Lynch was gonna murder her, like right there. And then you have Michael Berryman saying, like, oh, he's a great guy, I love him, but he disappeared for a weekend to like convene with Nazis in the jungle.
That better be true. I'm sorry.
I believe that one. Absolutely.
Yeah, I do too.
It's crazy that the provable thing about Richard Lynch that he set himself on fire while on acid. That doesn't sound like there's any way that's true. 100% true. Like it's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I
Is
love
it
it
a
so much.
crime to say that a movie's campy? Like, do you think it's shitting on a movie to say like that Revenge of the Ninja is campy because it was super campy?
Yeah, not at. I don't think that's. I wouldn't take that as like derogative in any way.
I
I
think
always
it's
felt like
fun.
there
Like
was.
that's what I like about it.
It's
Mhm.
fun.
Yeah, I think,
I
and if it's campy is the way you look at it, then that's cool. Like it works to me on that level too. Like I don't think it means it's a horrible movie. Like I think, well, maybe Barbarella isn't a great movie, but it's campy. Danger Diabolic's very
Barbarella is a
campy.
great movie.
Yeah, but some people hate it. I love it, and
How could
like
you
I
say
think,
that?
yeah, like, Danger Diabolic is super campy, but I love it.
I love when the birds eat her. And she's like,
Oh,
"Oh, how darling." And then they all start biting her.
did
Barbarella
you?
is fucking awesome.
You didn't hear the new canon, but Jeff had been looking for a movie from his childhood that had upset him, and he found out. He sent me a message today. It was Barbarella, the scene where the teeth that are on the porcelain characters. He saw like 30 seconds of it on HBO and had nightmares for like 4 years. He said as a kid, and he could for his whole life he's been afraid to find it. He finally watched Barbarella, and he's like, "Fuck, that was that movie." And like all those feelings came back to him. I was like, "Oh man."
But a lot of action fans are offended if you talk about the movies. Like if you laugh at something that happened in the movie, at least the ones that I used to watch movies with when I was in my teens, like they
Yeah.
were pissed that
Mm.
I would laugh at this stuff. And I'm like, I'm not saying that it's not awesome.
This
Like I
movie
know
makes
I'm seeing
me.
those same stunts, I'm seeing those same fight scenes, and I appreciate them. But
There's one scene in
there's
this
something
where
a little
he
funny
makes
about
me.
it.
It makes me laugh out loud is when he pulls the ninja star off his belt in the middle of the fight and throws it.
Yeah.
Like that's completely ridiculous, but it's awesome too. Like
Mhm.
it should like bring you joy. So if it comes out as laughter or however you see it, like I love that.
Mhm. I think this touches on why I love this one so much. I think it does have a great balance. Is it's silly and it's like aware how goofy and silly it is at points, but it is also like that scene on the van, like that playground scene with the goofy costumes taking place on a playground for no reason. It's a great fight scene. Like it's a well choreographed. It looks cool. It's they make the best use of that setting, and I think that does it. I think this movie does strike a balance that is rare.
Yeah.
I
There's
mean,
a certain
Ninja 3
fantasy.
is the same way. I mean, same
Oh
director
my god,
a
I
few
love
months
Ninja
later.
3.
But the
We have
whole
to do
like
that
golf
one on
course
this show.
scene is
Yeah.
insane. Like everything about it, you watch him crush a golf ball in his hands, and that was just because I'm sure that was just because they thought it was funny that day on set, and that's included in the movie, and it's played seriously.
The like we talked about before, the first 10 minutes of that fight is filled with so much inventiveness in Ninja 3, where you're like, you
Mhm.
can't believe after the first two or three cops get killed, you're like, wow, this is getting kind of over the top. And it's like it hasn't even started. Then they shoot him like 900 times and he keeps coming. Like it's amazing. Like it just is so good.
That's a
Yeah.
movie I watched because of you, Sam.
Oh
Because you were
yeah.
talking about it all the time, and then I don't know. I was sitting there looking for something to put on while I was working. It was Ninja 3 Domination.
Oh,
That is what you
that's
were
how I
talking
found
about.
that.
Oh yeah.
That's how I found that solid gold workout video that I sent to you this week because I was trying to find Lucinda
Yeah.
Dickey appearances on solid gold because she was a solid gold dancer. And yeah, I
Mhm.
ended up finding a great video for Bill of the 5 day solid gold workout. And we're both in the middle of it right now. We're on day 3 of it right now.
Oh, I mean, you can. I think Shokasugi's martial arts instructional video, if you
Oh
want to do
yeah.
some like mid 80s
Oh,
workout, like you can find that on YouTube or Internet Archive, one or the other.
we'll have to get the Chuck Norris stretcher so that we can properly stretch out our that machine where we can tighten up and stretch out our quads properly before we get into it.
Yeah, his martial arts like exercise video he did. What I love is that was part of his like contract with like Trans World Entertainment.
Uh-huh.
So like they got Pray for Death and Rage of Honor and an exercise video.
Oh wow.
Like the little bit of variety there.
Alden wants to know if this is considered a classic in action circles.
I'd say Ninja Circles, absolutely. I don't know
Yeah.
about action, but if in the terms of like the ninja movie canon, it's definitely the big one.
Yeah. There's a ton of Shokasugi theater movies on Tubi that are a lot of like just picked up Taiwanese and Hong Kong movies with him doing intros of him beating up some of his students and then saying ninja, and then like it goes into the movie, and I tell you, like those beginnings make me as hyperactive as this movie. Super excited. Yeah, I would say, yeah, I agree. This is definitely a ninja classic. I think it should be an action classic, but I think obviously, and most people are going to pick a lot of Stallone stuff and Arnold stuff, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
I always look at it as like I've kind of broken action stars into tiers, and like there was always Stallone and Arnold fighting for who was number one, and then the goal of being the person beneath them was like, is it going to be Van Damme? Is it going to be Seagal? And I think action films fans will super argue that with you.
I
You know what
thought
I
you
mean?
meant you made action stars break into tears.
Oh no. I prefer I would say probably to me like Van Damme would be my number three. I never bought into the um, world of Seagal. I just never
I
enjoyed
hate
the
him.
movie.
I
Yeah,
fucking hate that guy. Like I've seen a couple of his movies actually. I guess on HBO maybe
yeah.
when nothing else was on, and I hated that guy so much.
He never really gets beat up, and I come from the loving Jackie Chan world where Jackie Chan gets his ass kicked in movies really bad
Yeah,
and numerous times, and it's like the idea. It's the American babyface of pro wrestling style thing, where you want to see people get beat up so that they can learn from it and become better fighters. And like Seagal, just the whole movie, he's just kicking guys' ass. I only like him in the one Machete movie because I think he's kind of like the role.
it's not exciting if you can't
Yeah,
see them getting hurt, and you can't see them, maybe not having the upper hand for a minute. There's more at stake,
yeah.
and it's more exciting that way. But I guess Seagal's not in it for that.
Yeah. Matthias Eng asked, true or false, the ninja phenomena in the U.S. does not exist without show. Austin,
Yeah.
what do you think? Yeah.
Yeah, 1000% true. Like we touched on this a little bit early
Okay.
on, and I think right as the movie was starting when we were still chatting. But yeah, every piece of the ninja like 80s pop culture phenomenon can be traced back to something to do with Shokasugi. Because even before he did these movies, he was like one of two famous ninjas back before they film. Like you get to Inside Kung Fu magazine or any of the Black Belt magazine, it would be his ads, and then there'd be Tadashi Yamashita, who actually was offered the Shokasugi role in Enter the Ninja first and didn't want to play a bad guy. And of course, he plays a bad guy in American Ninja. He's the Black Star Ninja in that. So, but that worked out. But in any case, like if you ordered, not even from shows like Pages, if you went into somewhere to buy Ninja Stars or something from a mail order magazine, and you had ninja posters, it would be Shokasugi. Like even going back into the early 80s, any articles about ninjas, if they wanted to show like the poses and the moves in Black Belt, it would be Shokasugi demonstrating them in these photos. So you get into any of the ninja stuff, like you look at all the Nintendo games, there's a great site, Vintage Ninja. Keith Rainville runs it, and it's incredible. But he has this section where he collects, it's called Kasugi Kicks. And it's just the very famous pose of Shokasugi kicking. And it was used for every ninja toy, every video game. There's at least 2 NES games that have the label art that is exactly like the same pose being traced. You get to like Frank Miller's like Daredevil ninjas, like you can like get the pages and see the poses that Frank Miller was drawing in those comics, and they're just famous Shokasugi poses from like these different ninja books that he'd appear in, the Ninja Turtles and things like that. All these different characters, and I'm sure like Sam, if you look through some of your GI Joe stuff, you'd probably
100%.
find some Shokasugi drawings in there.
Well, we've talked about before, but like the entire origin of Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow is Enter the Ninja. It's the same story, and it's a very basic story, but it's the same story, and like it's amazing how close it is. And like, yeah, the same weapons that they use, and those weapons got codified from the one, like you said, the weapons that he brought with him. That's what people consider like. No one had seen like a Manriki Gasari or like a lot of these like really exotic weapons in American movies before, and he has them in here. And they're like Bill said, they're surprising. Like there were a couple times where Bill's like, I didn't know there was gonna be a knife in that. Like that's
Yeah. Well, they
these
were
are
using
weapons.
it like one way, and then all of a sudden it broke open, and there was a dagger inside of it. I'm like, holy shit!
Yeah.
Yeah, the belt buckle that Sho Kosugi's wearing. It's funny if you look in some of his like ads, because he still ran these ads as he was making these canon movies for the mail order stuff. But you could buy that back then if you went and saw Revenge of the Ninja in theaters, and it did very well, and you wanted some of that stuff that he had, you could open up a Black Belt magazine and order everything you saw. You could probably order those fans if you wanted.
I respect the hell out of that. I mean, he created this niche market and he exploited it. That's
Yeah.
fucking cool. I
Yeah,
love that.
there's the interview I have with his son, Kane, in the first volume of the book. I asked him about some of this, like what he remembers, and of course he remembers Revenge of the Ninja, but before that, he talks about being a kid and selling ninja gear, like helping pack like out like boxes and things like that, and always selling a lot of ninja outfits around Halloween every year. Like he had to go into his dad's like shop and like help all the people ordering ninja outfits for like Halloween costumes. Like they got a high volume orders around then, and he just had to help out.
Wow.
So
Yeah,
yeah,
I saw that Eldon asked who played the kids. Those are Sho's two kids that are playing his two sons in this movie.
Yeah. They and if you want to see those two little kids beat up more people, you can watch like Nine Deaths of the Ninja. Doesn't have them like kicking as much ass as they do in this, but Pray for Death has some like it has Kane has a bicycle that has like ninja weapons hidden in it that like pop out of it in a really cool
Wow.
way.
How old is he in that one?
Oh, that was like 2 years later, so he's still like not even hit puberty yet.
Yeah.
He's still a little tiny kid.
Well, you know, that's what we want to see, a little kid like that kicking ass. So
Yeah. Yeah, he hasn't hit any awkward phases yet. He's still a little ninja kid.
that's so awesome.
Yeah.
I love Nine Deaths of the Ninja is literally like a James Bond movie too. It's crazy.
Oh
Like,
my God. John Stryker's brought up the fans. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. I saw that comment and I
Yeah.
seized on it. You guys heard me. I was like freaking out over those fans.
Mhm.
I was like, holy shit. There, because you see them. I didn't know what it was. I'd never seen anybody fight with that. And he cut the guy's mustache off with it. Brilliant.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Sam. I know I interrupted
No, it's fine.
on you.
The thing I like about Nine Deaths of the Ninja is Anthony Kiedis' dad is the bad guy in it. Black and Damage. He's one of the bad guys in it.
And Nine Deaths of the Ninja is wacky fun. You get Sho Kosugi like kicking ass with like a cane at one point, pretending to be an old man, and you get like a Doctor Strangelove like style villain, a guy in a wheelchair. Like,
Yeah.
it's some wild. That one's pretty fun.
It's got a whole James Bond credit sequence too of Show doing his moves and with like girls and stuff. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, dancing behind him and the fog machines going.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's an awesome introduction.
Yeah, Bill, I think you'll love that one because like if you're looking for that one is like a million times campier than this. Like it leans in super hard into that one. There's like literally a rogues gallery of supervillains in it too, of like with wacky weapons. It's pretty good.
Yeah, that is a great one.
Yeah, Pray for Death's really good too. Like Pray for Death was, like I said, in my 3rd or 4th grade class. That was like the movie of that. That was the Citizen Kane of whatever year that came out. Like that's people are like, but have you seen Pray for Death? It's that image of him wearing the helmet with the throwing star in the middle of it is so iconic to me.
And that's somebody, if you're a Ninja Turtles fan, like Shredder was definitely just like Sho Kosugi's outfit. Like this is the Shredder like outfit before Shredder, which is wild.
And then I've seen people decry and make fun of the Master, but he was in the Master with Lee Van Cleef as well on NBC, like which it didn't last that long, but the first couple episodes were a very big deal. At least in I go by what the kindergarten or the grade school talk was at that time.
Yeah,
that was a big people like there's a ninja show on TV. Holy shit! Like it was a big deal.
I'm
if only they would.
Huh? Oh, I just found grabbed one of my martial arts magazines. I'm trying to see if I can find a copy of Show's ad. So.
Oh yeah.
I'm like looking off camera here for a second to see how much some of these things cost.
It's amazing too because there was that year with like between this movie and then even in ET, a kid puts a ninja mask on. Like that was like a huge moment when that happened, and when they're escaping on the bikes. It was kind of like the year of that's when kind of that fascinated everybody that year.
Here is a ninja belt buckle.
Oh,
$9.95 with removable star.
Ooh.
But yeah, this is from 1985. Inside Kung Fu's best of martial arts movie with Sho Kosugi on the cover.
Oh man.
But yeah, so $9.95. If you saw Revenge of the Ninja, you wanted yourself one of those belt buckles. $10 plus shipping and handling.
You might be on a plane and need to fight terrorists, and that's why you need. You know what I mean? You sneak that.
I mean, I might take my kids to the playground, not knowing that it's a hangout for known criminals who might have
information. Does this movie make? I walk through a playground every day. That's part of my walking route, and I'm going to keep an eye out for Don Shanks now, as a Native American.
How
what the hell was that outfit he had on? I'm sorry, that was fucking crazy. Jesus Christ! I kept thinking that
guy in this movie has a crazy outfit. The guy guarding the hot tub has like the white pants, and he's like jerking around with the nunchucks. Like, what was that guy's outfit?
I was kind of digging him. I have to say, I was kind of feeling it. And is it too soon to talk about Tora Tanaka?
Yeah, I knew that when Tora Tanaka showed up shirtless with just the sumo diaper on, it was like, and socks, little booty socks.
Yeah, I was loving that moment. They didn't, I know he had to die, but you could have at least given him a chance to take that thing off,
Yeah, it maybe gets down one cheek and then he gets killed. Give him a little, give the ladies and Bill a little more Tora.
Show us ladies and Bill.
Yeah, I'm sure that there's other gentlemen that prefer Tora Tanaka as well.
There are many. Yeah,
he's he's more of a sex symbol than an Ao Leong, probably. Like, he probably had some girls from wrestling too, and guys from wrestling as well. So, that hot tub torture scene is crazy. Like, what is going on with those jets?
Fuck?
Like, it's crazy. And then they put a child into a super hot sauna to torture him.
Well, I mean, Sam Furstenberg goes right back to the hot tub like kill scenes in Ninja 3. Like,
oh yeah. Yeah.
And
the other thing, I hinted at it too in the beginning. This is a movie that does not shy away from killing everybody and anybody. Like, grandmothers and children will die in this movie. A kid gets a throwing star in his head in the first minute of the movie, setting you up.
Oh my god.
So when we have the fight between the hypnotized blonde girl and the son later, it's like there is some tension on the line. We have already seen a child get destroyed in this.
Yeah, that whole introduction we were talking about as it was starting, but was added later. Most of the movie was shot in Salt Lake City, and there was originally a much longer introduction where it's Sho and Brandon setting up this big importing business and explaining how they're going to get the dolls in, and Sho talking to his wife and mother, like, oh, should we go, or anything like that. And they get attacked, and Manak and Golan sees it. They get it back to Canton and tells Sam, like, it takes too long to get to the ninja action. Like, you just need to shoot a scene. So then they went out to this beautiful Japanese looking house out in Los Angeles and then slaughtered his entire family in a few minutes and shot that entire scene and put that on instead of the longer introduction that would have explained the whole smuggling story a little bit more. But it's great.
Whose
it's
house
a great
was
opening.
that? You said whose house that was, right?
Shirley Temple.
Yeah.
The Japanese the Japanese house that the ninja slaughter was not in Japan. It was at Shirley Temple's, like one of her like vacation homes.
It looked like a fucking theme park.
Yeah.
I was like, were there people that really lived like this in Japan? I mean,
it's like when
Shirley Temple lived like that for a while, I guess, in the 50s or 60s.
It's like at SeaWorld, they used to have like the pearl divers at SeaWorld. And you're like, yeah, but we're still in Cleveland. We haven't really left. I know this feels like we're in another country, but we're not. Oh man. Bill, I'm glad that you're starting to watch some action movies too. It makes me happy to get you to watch these and that you enjoy them. So that makes me feel good.
Yeah. I don't know. I always enjoy it when I do it, but it's never the first thing that I reach for because
Oh
there's so
yeah.
many other things that I want to see. They have to be forced on me. That's
Well,
why I love doing this show.
yeah.
Hey, we didn't mention about next week's
Yeah.
movies. Um,
Microwave Massacre, a movie that
yes.
will divide folks, potentially. The lead actor in it, the voice of Frosty the Snowman, crazily enough, but he is not doing any Frosty the Snowman stuff in this. A movie that has a great poster. That'll be my review. The poster's great. It's like when people used to ask me how their matches were, and I'd say in wrestling, I'd be like, "Well, I really like your entrance music." That's that's my. But and we have the Stolen Stitches actually on the show. They're going to be doing a stunt live while while we're doing this. Hopefully, no one gets hurt. Uh, and then our second movie, Bill, is
The Farmer.
yeah.
At
Get ready.
once a very hard movie to see because there was no home video format for it. And a couple people had like some kind of rip that they were sharing on YouTube and it would get taken down like 10 seconds later. But you
Yeah.
could grab it somehow in the meantime. But now there's a nice restoration of it out. You can buy it legit and it's on Tubi. We're gonna watch The Farmer with Microwave Massacre next week. I don't even know what's gonna happen on the show. I've talked about none of it with the Stolen Stitches, other than that they were going to do an actual stunt live on the air. So I don't know what we'll see.
And Austin, you said The Farmer 2 is going to be over the top, or how does that work together?
Yeah, it's a very long, convoluted story, but yeah, it's got a canon connection. Gary Conway starred in The Farmer, this movie. They made it independently. It was picked up by, I believe it was Paramount, and distributed it and made a bunch of money. A vigilante movie, kind of that same sort of like Death Wish, like post Death Wish cycle. But the short version of the story is Monaghan Galan got a hold of the script circa 1980, loved it, was going to make it with Gary Conway, but then decided they needed a bigger star. Like this, Monaghan Galan believed that this script was the biggest thing, like going to be the biggest like thing in the world. And yeah, so eventually, like Don Johnson, he was in talks to get Don Johnson to star in it for a little while, and then finally got Stallone. Like Stallone was the biggest actor, one of the biggest there for the time. But Gary Conway got pushed out of it, and that's why Gary Conway's a bad guy in American Ninja.
Two, right?
One of the American Ninjas.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that was his consolation because he got kicked off of the script that he brought to canon. But yeah, more connections. The guy who wrote what was going to be the follow up to The Farmer, which over the top, the original script was super violent, super like R-rated, like not expected. David Engelbach, who, as part of his deal for canon to get the rights to the script, like David Engelbach got hired to do write Death Wish 2, and then got his own movie. The Canon would make his own movie, which was America 3000. So it's all weirdly connected. So the movie you're watching next week is responsible for Over the Top, Death Wish 2, and America 3000. Like they all sprung out of The Farmer somehow.
They're all connected. Someone also asked earlier. Let me see. Matthias asked, explain the narrative thread between Enter the Ninja, Revenge of the Ninja, and Ninja 3: The Domination. Is there one? They all have ninjas.
The entirety of the thread is only a ninja can kill a ninja. Like that's the only thing that's in common. And Shokasugi's in them.
Yeah.
But they're totally unrelated. He plays totally different ninjas in each one.
Is he a villain in any of the other ones?
1 and 3. Well, no, 3 is the good guy. No, just 1. Just in Enter the Ninja, he's the bad guy.
Yeah. And like you said, the end of this has the very Japanese samurai blood spray. The fight at the end of the first one is great too. If you guys haven't seen Enter the Ninja, it's filled with some wild stuff. Plus Christopher George and there's some real good stuff in it. And Also, a guy with a hook hand that gets abused repeatedly throughout the movie.
Oh yeah.
And Ninja 3, if you haven't seen it, is I would say the most canon movie, one of the most canon movies of canon. It's like it's very much like what if like it's Menachem saying we needed a girl ninja, one, and two. It's like hey, Flashdance is big, and possession movies are big. Just put them all in the same drink.
And V8's a pretty big drink.
It's like one of my 20 recipes, like the one I made for Absurd. They had like 20 different things in it. It's one of those drinks.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't understand why she pours that V8 over herself during that scene. But it's one of those what the fuck moments that really makes the movie.
Also, he's very hairy, so the idea of the V8 being in his body hair is very upsetting.
Oh yeah. Just how much shampoo? A lot of shampoo. A lot of shampoo to clean that up.
How did that happen? You said what they found. They just had it on the craft services table and thought it would be funny.
Yeah. It's one of those things like Sam in the scripts, like, you know, a lot of the times you read the scripts for this and like it'll be they fight. That whole playground thing we saw tonight, like the description of the script is like they fight, and it's, you know, Show and Stephen Lambert kind of like looking around to see what they have, and their costume lady like, we need to dress these thugs up, and the costume lady, Sam Furstenberg, said it was her idea to dress them like the Village People. He didn't know who the Village People were, so he didn't get the joke at the time. Like, but it was just something he was okay. It's like, let's go for it. Like that's just something that's magical about them. But yeah, the V8 was, it was on the set, and they were like, "There's a sex scene, like that we needed something sexy," and that was just something that kind of Jordan Bennett, who's the actor on that. Was his idea, like, oh, why don't you pour this? And she's like, sure, let's try it. Like it was something that was just they just did because it was something that was funny when they were there, and they kept it in. That's it's one of the memorable things about, like, many memorable things about that movie. But when Ninja 3 comes up, people, you know, it within the next 60 seconds somebody will mention the V8.
There's a lot to me that ties canon and early Marvel comics together, because you have, like, in the same way that Stan Lee was like the voice of Marvel, the one getting all the PR, Menachem feels like that a lot. You know, he's the kind of William Castle of the operation. Do you know what I mean? Out there talking about it. But also, like you said, that's how like Marvel style was, where Jack Kirby would get a page and they're like, oh, they fight. And then he would actually put it together. Like, when Stan Lee saw the issues of Fantastic Four with Galactus, he's like, who's this guy? And he's like, oh, he's the space god. And he'd be like, oh, all right. And like, so there's a lot of that. So like, yeah, like who actually creates this? What makes this movie is maybe not the script, but like all the Village People came, like you said, came from, you know, the costumer, and the playground fight came from showing the stunt guys, Steven, what's his name? And it's like, that's to me what I love about these. It's like, they're like a big community of people creating it, of like, who even knows where all these ideas came from. It was like everybody pulling together to create, in the same way old Marvel comics were like that. They're just turn out as many issues as you can to make them filled with action. And maybe if they don't all make sense, who gives a shit? Like, you know, there'll be another one pretty soon.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. What else? What should Bill watch next of canon movies? I think that's the next question.
I mean, if you've seen Ninja 3, you might as well finish the trilogy backwards. It doesn't matter what order you watch in, but Enter the Ninja would be a great one. If you enjoyed this, like, it's got some really fun stuff. Franco Nero, like,
I think I watched
clearly having a double like jump in for him. Like, there's times in that movie where like you can tell it's Shokasugi like doubling Franco Nero at some points, and then like fighting himself like other scenes, because, you know, Franco Nero is a very tall, very dark-skinned man with piercing blue eyes, and then suddenly he does a backflip or something, and it's like a much smaller, not Franco Nero like in the costume, like on a longer, farther away shot. There's some wonderful stuff. But yeah, I would put, if you're looking for something directly next for canon stuff, like Enter the Ninjas, probably.
My dream is to get Bill to watch Avenging Force. I think he will really like Avenging Force a lot. Which is,
if it's your dream, why don't you just tell me?
We'll do it. I think that because I gotta gradually get you into these. We'll watch. Maybe I can.
Avenging Force is great. I mean,
Yeah.
John P. Ryan is so
Oh, he's out of
awesome
control in that movie. Like it's like it's like one of those actors. You're like, is he really believe all of this stuff when he's doing this stuff? Like it's very a movie ripped from the headlines. Avenging Force. It feels like it.
Mm-hmm.
Bill, would you like to see what came in the mail this week?
Yeah, sure.
I'm really excited about this. This is from a new label. What is the name of the label? Surviving Elements, which is owned by the guys. It's another Diabolic DVD label, just like Cauldron, but they're putting a lot of Japanese movies. And this is Haunted Samurai.
Ooh,
And the packaging.
That looks cool.
Yeah.
that's beautiful.
Yeah. And nice slipcase. Just got it in the mail with a nice letter from them saying, will you check this out? Yes, definitely.
Very cool.
This is the third movie in the set that Called Epics has been putting out of Marlene Goris, which I had never seen her films before, and they're all really interesting and intriguing. This is The Last Island. MVD sent this one, Vile, which I have not seen. Just the cover already is upsetting me. Pliers and Teeth. Very upsetting. Speaking of upsetting, this is the second August Underground one. Mortem. Man, I watched the first August Underground shot in Pittsburgh, and if you like found footage, but also maybe you're like, I kind of like Blood Feast, but what if Blood Feast was serious? That's what this is.
Vile.
Yeah, it's rough, to say the least. 88 Films, The Last Blood, which is pretty cool. 88 Films is putting out a lot of cool Hong Kong stuff. Excited about that. And then these are two movies that one I bought and one that was given to me. Mark Dockham, who's one of our fans, gave me a copy of Savage Dawn, which is a very expensive Vinegar Syndrome slipcase one, but a fun 80s direct-to-video movie that I love, and I bought this myself. Again, another plug for the new issue of Drive-In Asylum, Renato Pacelli movie, Vampire and the Ballerina, which is, he made the same movie with Monster of the Opera, which is on the Severin set that just came out. If you like.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that because at one point I thought they were the same movie.
They are, but they're made 5 years apart. They're not the same movie, but they're the same movie. It's like you can see the early beginnings of his obsessions with horror and sex and horror together. This is like kind of like the 50s one where it's very chaste by comparison. By the time he got the Black Magic rights and aka Resurrection of Isabel, like he's like, yeah, fuck it, let's go for it. They get pretty wild. Mania, one of his later movies, is near full adult, but they're always about, like I said of his movies, like if anytime anything gets boring, they either turn into dance or satanic rituals or vampires. And really, these are three of my favorite things. So yeah, this is the Shop Factory one. There's a really good quality copy of this one on YouTube. I think they just put this one up, and Internet Archive has it too. You want to see it and see if you like his films, but I do. But yeah, check out the new Drive-In Asylum. I wrote a ton about him, and there's also Vinegar Syndrome just put out another of his films as well. So yeah.
The brand new issue of Drive-In Asylum, you can order it from our Etsy shop, Groovy Doom. Just go on Etsy and search Drive-In Asylum. There it will be. Or you can go to driveinasylum.com. That rounds up all of the internet presences that we have. And it's really an exciting issue for me because, of course, we got a quintessential slasher coverage. He Knows You're Alone.
Yeah.
From 1980, one of our favorite years from film. That's going to be our next special, the 1980 yearbook. But in the meantime, the next issue, I'm plugging the new one and already talking about the next one. The next issue, I'm so excited because I just had a great conversation the other night with Zooey Hall, who was in I Dismember Mama, a.k.a. Poor Albert and Little Annie. That's the real title of the movie. Before Harry Novak got a hold of it. God bless him. And Zooey Hall was so nice and cordial and engaged in our conversation. I was really excited because Zooey is his real name is David Hall. He goes by David Hall now. And David is such a great actor in these movies. He was in a great movie called Fortune in Men's Eyes, directed by Harvey Hart, the director of The Pix. It was a controversial stage play at one point. I don't know if Sal Mineo originated it, but I know he directed a live version of it starring Don Johnson before he was a film star. And he was doing Fortune in Men's Eyes. I mean, it's rumors are that he was having a relationship with Sal Mineo because, while Don may be among those actors like James Dean and others who would just sleep with anybody who could advance their career. But he was in this live show, and one of the originators of this play was Michael Greer, who was in Messiah of Evil.
Yeah, I was going to say.
And, so many other wonderful movies, The Gay Deceivers. And he was, of course, also a professional female impersonator. And he did a great live show where he impersonated Betty Davis. And he was so good at Betty Davis that they hired him to do ADR for her.
For Wicked Stepmother, the Larry Cohen movie, yeah.
Not only that movie, though, he did it in other movies that she appeared in, too. Because he could imitate her voice so well that they were like, don't bring her back.
Yeah, you can't tell in Wicked Stepmother when her voice starts and when his does.
Yeah.
But
he's in Fortune in Men's Eyes with Zooey Hall. And right after that, he made I Dismember Mama, or a couple years later. And he's just such a great actor. He's so good at looking handsome and, sort of attractive in one scene. And then all of a sudden, he does this change with his facial expression and his gestures. It's very subtle, but he turns into a maniac. And it's really scary. I don't think it's the movie you expect it is, with a title called I Dismember Mama, because it's not really a gory movie, and it makes you queasy in other ways. And Zooey was on a very short list of people that I wanted when I started Drive-In Asylum back in 2015, and it took me forever to find him because, for one thing, I didn't know he was going by the name David, and he had been out there. He later in his career became a jazz singer, and he had some clips of him performing online, and that's how I found him.
Oh, wow.
So it was very exciting to talk to him, and that's going to be in Drive-In Asylum number 26. Can't wait. Got some other great features cooking, but I can't say for sure because I don't know if it's going to pan out. So fingers crossed.
Yeah.
Sorry, I know I went off there.
No, that's awesome. That's exciting. Austin, what do you have going on? Anything you'd like to plug?
Right now, it's getting quiet. I just did some signings and events over the summer, but this next few months I'm gonna lock down and try to knock out as much of this third volume as I can. So
how do you do it? Your work is so extensive and intensive. I mean, does this consume your life?
I mean, large is all my free time. I'll say that. Yeah, I mean, it's just the biggest thing is just trying to stay focused. I get distracted really easily. That's the thing is I'll be going through looking for canon stuff in some of these old trades and just get very interested in seeing ads for some German action movies I've never heard of, and can I find these? Are they translated things? That's the hardest thing. I'll sit down to get work done for a night and then end up down a rabbit hole, and just trying to keep my nose in the right direction is the toughest part of it. But yeah, it's a lot of work. I'll be eager to work on something once this third canon book is done that is a much smaller scale. I'm going to work on someone with a much smaller filmography for my follow-up project, just to make it easier on myself for a little while.
Yeah. I wonder if you'll be able to scale back that obsessiveness with a smaller size project. I
hope just by limiting the number of films that I can I can look at on what my next project will be, I think will really help. because we were talking while the movie was going on, like at their distribution catalog at its largest was about 1,100 films, so it's really easy to wind up on down funny paths in that way. But yeah, I'll work on something smaller for my next one. I'm before I eventually get to 21st Century or Dewey Friedman or all the different other things I want to write. I'm going to find somebody that only made like a dozen movies, not 200.
I'll be looking forward to that 21st Century book. I gotta admit.
Oh, I'm excited. I've got some materials I came across recently for 21st Century that is a bunch of unmade films, a bunch of like.
Oh, we lost him. There he is.
Oh, well, it heard me say Lambada. I was like, I just said I found some ads for a bunch of Lambada sequels that that Menachem didn't make, but we're supposed to be direct follow-ups to The Forbidden Dance.
Wow.
My favorite thing about canon, of all canon facts, is that during the feud between them, both Lambada movies came out the same day in theaters, which is mind-blowing, right?
Mm-hmm.
They split the Lambada audience and nobody won.
And it's I just love, I mean, the American Film Market issue came out in February 1990. So the two movies came out in March 16th, 1990, the two competing Lambada movies. But that AFM issue has full page ads for 8 different Lambada movies in it. Like every low budget exploitation, or independent company was trying to make a Lambada movie. And I think they realized that Menachem and Yoram were going to beat them to it. And I'll just get those other 6 movies, they just gave up. But I mean, it was, you get that. Those are the stories I like. Those are the type of stuff I like to dig up. The Human Shield chapter, it's a canon movie. It's a Desert Storm Michael Dudikoff movie, and it was supposedly the first Desert Storm themed movie to come out because it was released a few weeks after Desert Storm began. Pretty much, they turned it into a Desert Storm movie once that happened. But you have these ads for 6 or 7 different Desert Storm movies at the American Film Market that year. Desert Storm was 2 weeks old at that point, and they've already got full page ads, all these different companies. And that's the type of stuff that, again, I end up on tangents because I want to find out who these other filmmakers were, who they were, who was paying for these ads, how close did any of these movies get? Are the screenwriters and directors listed them? Are they actual people or just names that somebody made up and put on them? Because sometimes you get that. That's sometimes these are
mind fuck.
Yeah, sometimes these are totally fake movies, and it's
they're just trying to see who's going to throw in some money, and then the movie might happen. Yeah. It's like any Joe D'Amato credits. It's 60% of them are him using different names. Do you know what I mean? It's you can. Yeah. My favorite is when his Asian movies came out. People are like, "Wow, where did he import these movies from?" They're him. He's just using a bunch of Asian names.
That's you go through these old even 21st Century, some of these ads, but canon they do the same thing. You'd have these posters for these mock-up movies that they would make, and the screenwriter credit is always Joseph Goldman, and that was Menachem. That just meant that Menachem had this idea. There wasn't a screenplay there. It was just somebody else would write it, but Menachem had to put somebody's name on it. So Joseph Goldman gets a ton of credits, and that's just his favorite pseudonym.
Oh man, I love finding those things out, and it's that's who this person is.
Mm-hmm.
It gets, the Italian ones get super confusing because it's the angelicized names of people. You're oh, that's who that was. Wow. Just trying to figure out, that happens to me too. You go down these rabbit holes of oh, I wonder what else this cinematographer worked on. You're oh my god, they did all this stuff. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad I'm out of the USA Up All Night month. Not glad. I mean, I could do it forever, but it's man, once you get into some of these Gary Graver movies or some of the other ones, it's where did all these people come from?
Mm-hmm.
So this month, I have 3 different challenges going on. I'm doing the Scarecrow month for Scarecrow Video, where they have 31 different prompts. I'm doing one for
Oh,
Unsung Horrors, which is one of my favorite podcasts, and all the money goes to animal rescues for the people. For you donate for each movie you review. I'm doing those, and I'm also doing important cinema clubs challenges, and it's all Chiller Theater month starting tomorrow. So
Wow.
any movies around Chiller Theater in Pittsburgh are on the list. Also, Bill, the last thing I want to say is today is the anniversary of Night of the Living Dead playing in downtown Pittsburgh. October 1st, 1968 was the
that's
first
right.
time it played in theaters. So, man,
Wow.
yeah,
Thanks for reminding me. I forgot about that. I was all
yeah,
caught up in SF Brownrigg's birthday on
yeah.
September 30th. I forgot about the anniversary of Night.
And I'm sure I saw everybody posting it's October 1st, which is super exciting. The first movie tomorrow will be the first movie that was ever on Chiller Theater, Bill, which is pretty exciting, which
Which
is
was
the Brain movie.
The Brain from Planet Arrows.
The Brain from Planet Earth, yeah, which I'd never seen. So a lot of these movies, like that's my blind spot, is like 50s black and white sci-fi and horror. So I've been watching a lot of these.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I've seen a lot of that stuff. I used to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning to watch Channel 9 for New York. They had
yeah.
a slot at 5 a.m.
Mm.
that showed classic sci-fi horror films, and a lot of that stuff I hadn't seen. It was never on TV except for that, so I would get up and go watch like It Came from Outer Space,
Yeah.
or what's the one with the carrot monster?
Oh,
I think the thing that it conquered the world.
it
That's the
conquered the
one I'm
world. Yeah.
thinking of. Yeah. And I was like, wow, that's it. I didn't know that was the whole monster. I'd seen pictures of it, and I'm like, oh, that must be the monster's head. But no, it was like
What's
a
funny is
vacuum
you
cleaner
see these
monster.
pictures and they're iconic from famous monsters, and you don't know what they're going to look like when they're moving. And you're like,
Yeah.
oh, that's it. Only shows up when I did the interview with Brett McCormick that's on the site this week, and Brett said he watched a lot of those movies, and he said he realized that they prepared him for liking movies that might not make sense because he's like, it's 55 minutes of nothing happening and a minute of the monster. And he goes, and I grew to like those movies. And I said, well, you're going to love watching movies with Bill at some point because those are Bill movies too.
Where nothing happens. Oh
But
yeah.
he said, yeah, I love movies where nothing happens until the last 10 minutes and then a whole bunch of stuff happens, but you're just waiting for it to happen. And I was like, you've described Bill's favorite genre.
That's
Or one.
Hitchcock. It's
Oh,
not the bomb that's scary.
it's not just the Bat People. It's also Hitchcock.
Well,
But
Hitchcock could have learned a lot from the Bat People, and that's all I'm
yeah,
going to say.
but
Don't,
yeah, I'm
don't come
excited
for the
to.
Bat People. I'll meet you there.
I like that the Bat People is ultimately about romance at the end of it. Like
It's a
it's about
love
a couple.
story.
It is a love story by the end of it. If you watch it through that lens, it's a much different movie.
I was going to show some ads, but we're running pretty late, so I think we should probably just sign off. But
Alrighty.
thanks, Austin,
Yeah.
for being on the show tonight. It was great.
Yeah, thank you guys. This was I had a lot of fun. I'm glad I could stay through this whole one too. I always duck out of the last time, and I always felt bad about that, missing
Oh,
out.
don't. We
This is
love
great.
having you on, and it's always an honor to have you on, and always learn so much when you're on. So thank you.
Oh, thank you for having me.
I'm glad
Yeah.
you were on this late one because the second segment, because somehow, like we've got 19 people watching right now. And tomorrow when I look at the numbers, it's this segment that's going to have the more views because it just, for some reason, the third or the second segment, the last part always lives. I can't explain those numbers, but
Yeah.
this is because people probably like to watch us when we're really kind of tipsy.
Yeah.
and talking about movies.
They should have been at the drive-ins. That was the whole time. It was a lost weekend.
Yeah, exactly. It was
Yeah.
just. I wish it could
I
happen.
didn't end up at the Honey Bear High though, so that at least it was a success. I got home and I didn't have like freakouts like the last time. So yeah, well that was a couple times ago. I've grown. I'm 51. I'm an adult, right?
I'll trade you ages.
Oh, I was hanging out with a bunch of late 20-somethings today, and it was like I hate every single one of you. Like I do not like any.
They don't know what they have.
They don't. They don't. But what would I do different? I would just watch the same more movies. So it's not like it would change anything. I have a brain in a jar, like the brain from Planet Arrows.
Next week,
Microwave Massacre and The Farmer.
Be here.
Farmer. Yeah.
And until then, be safe, be well, come back and hang out and watch fantastic films with us. Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Under 17 not admitted without parents or guardian. Under 17 not admitted without parents or guardian.